KSL News at 4 starts now.
Thanks so much for joining us. We begin with another blow to State Representative Phil Lyman's push to keep his campaign alive for governor.
Today, the State Records Committee denied a request to see ballot signatures in Washington County that he felt were vital to prove Governor Cox should never have been on last month's primary ballot. News specialist Brian Carlson's live at the state office building in Taylorsville, where they held that meeting this morning. Brian?
Yeah, Ashley and Deanie, hundreds of Lyman supporters showed up here this morning just to see what the State Records Committee would decide. Many left disappointed and upset. The line to get in was out the door. So what we know about this committee hearing was it was deciding whether 30 to 60 signatures gathered for State Senator Don Ibsen deemed questionable by Washington County should be made public. Representative Lyman argued the same company that gathered the signatures for Ibsen also gathered signatures for Utah Governor Spencer Cox. And he wants to confirm Cox didn't use unlawful signatures to get on the state Republican primary ballot. Washington County Attorney Eric Clark argued those signatures are part of an ongoing criminal investigation and need a temporary exemption from being made public. Well, today, the committee voted 4-1 and agreed with him to the disappointment of Lyman and his supporters.
There has to be that exception, and I think that the committee got that right.
I think they're beholden to the lieutenant governor's office. They know that there would be repercussions if they went a different direction.
Now, a number of Lyman supporters let the committee know their frustrations as they got up and left. Lyman addressed the passionate crowd outside and vowed to appeal that decision through the state court system. Now, coming up on KSL News at 5, I'll let you hear what some of those supporters had to say about the investigation that prevented those signatures from being made public and where the Washington County Attorney agrees with them. Live here in Taylorsville, Brian Carlson, KSL 5 News. Back to you.
All right, Brian, thanks for that report. Appreciate it. Well, 3 people are facing felony charges of protect them. Well, moving to Fire Watch now and the latest on a couple of fires burning in our state. We begin now with the Silver King fire. This fire, about 3 miles outside of Marysvale, is now 78% contained. It was caused by lightning and has so far burned just over 18,000 acres. Now, because of the significant progress made by firefighters, downsizing of the incident has begun, with crews and resources beginning to be released. And an important heads up for those living in this area, tonight at 7 p.m. there will be a community meeting. It's going to happen at the Latter-day Saints building on 800 West Bullion Avenue in Marysvale. Well, now to the Spears fire. This is burning just a bit.
Representative Phil Lyman trying to keep his run for governor alive. Coming up, I'll show you the loss for his campaign today and where the winning party actually agrees with his supporters.
On his life.
The Phil Lyman campaign for Utah governor suffered another loss today from the State Records Committee. It involved a request for election signatures, the Washington County Attorney, and a big crowd of Lyman supporters. News specialist Brian Carlson's live at the Taylorsville State Office building, where the Lyman campaign has had some strong feelings about this. Brian?
Yeah, that they do, Deanie. The question here was whether the State Records Committee would allow the Lyman campaign to see 3 to 5 dozen signatures gathered for Utah Governor Spencer Cox that helped him, they believe, got on the Republican primary ballot where Cox defeated Lyman. Well, the State Records Committee today denied that request. Despite the overwhelming amount of support shown here at that meeting from the State Records Committee, they ruled that the signatures Lyman wanted to see from Washington County were part of an ongoing investigation into the campaign gathering for State Senator Don Ibsen. And the Washington County Attorney says the timeline for Lyman to make this type of election challenge has expired. I spoke with frustrated Lyman supporters who argue the investigation has been ongoing since April and is taking too long. And that's something the Washington County Attorney admits is a problem.
I have to acknowledge that's a fair point from people. We haven't prioritized it at the top of our list because in our mind all of the time frames have already run. And so it hasn't been this project that's on fire that has to be done.
That really sets a dangerous precedent because they are essentially saying that public opinion doesn't matter.
And you feel like the signatures should be seen?
Oh yeah, they're public information. We have the right, the public has the right to transparency and to know absolutely what the truth is.
Now, afterwards, Phil Lyman vowed to appeal today's ruling and fight on, which many of his supporters began singing God Bless America, turning the disappointment from the committee into a rallying cry to push forward. Now, just a few hours ago, Lyman was also pushing to be able to get access to the signatures from Utah Governor Spencer Cox in Utah's 3rd District Court, in a separate situation there. They were asking for a temporary restraining order for those signatures. Lyman's campaign says the judge is considering that, but didn't make a ruling on that today. Live here in Taylorsville, Brian Carlson, KSL-5 News. Back to you.
All right, Brian, thank you. Well, preventing drowning this summer.